Hello and welcome to Corner Comics, your mostly weekly comic book reading club. My friends and I get together, we share a few issues with each other, then we talk about those issues. Gentlemen, it's Sunday. It's another episode. I have a fixed headset. We can do this again.
About time.
How is everybody, and where can people find you on the interwebs?
Emmanuel.
I am unperturbed, and you can find me on Instagram at em underscore YOU. Let me backtrack that. em underscore MAN underscore YOU underscore EL. Yeah, phonetically Emmanuel. And you can find me at emmanuelthestory.com.
Okay. I'm doing pretty good. Trying a little more clean shaven stuff right now. Don't know if I like it. I'm used to having the beard. Anyway, you can find me multiple places. You can find me at blacksuperherofan.com. You can also find me at comiccreatorsofcolor.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Walrus. It's at WALLRUSS. I'm also on Instagram, but there's nothing there, so no need for that. You can also find me here and at cornercomics.net.
All right. Yeah, I saw that you followed me on Instagram. I was like, I don't really post on Instagram either. So, um, but yeah, we got 6 issues this week. I picked a theme. I believe Russ picked a theme. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark on that one. And Emmanuel, you picked, I guess, your two favorite books of last week. Um, so I've got We Only Find Them When They're Dead, number one. This is a Boom Studios book. Just came out 2 weeks ago. And Sea of Stars, number six, which is an Image book. My theme for the week is space opera science fiction. So, Russ, your two books.
Okay, I picked a book called Reaver, which is an Image book, and I picked a book called Backtrack. I don't know if there's a theme there other than it's not the big two,
Okay.
or because I feel like Image is number three of the big three. So, but I could have that wrong. No theme. I'll get into it more once we talk about the individual books. But Reaver is from Image, and Backtrack is from Oni Press.
Manuel?
Nice. All right. I picked The Resistance, issue number 5. It's an AWA Studios book. And then also, I picked from DC Comics. You may have heard of it. The Flash, Volume 1, issue number 761.
Oh, see, that was the one that was released 2 weeks ago, right? It just came out.
It was. Yep.
All right. Well, let's jump into it. We'll do my first book. We Only Find Them When They're Dead. The way that I would describe this is it is a corporate grave robbers that mine godly bodies, I guess. So yeah, I came across this. It just was kind of blown away by the artwork. I thought it was very cool. I don't know if it's the same guy that did the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover, but it looks very similar to that. And it kind of felt a little bit like Outlaw Star to me. So, anyway, yeah, what did you guys think of this book?
I'll go first, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
mind. So, the idea that celestial bodies are literal bodies, they are the gods because of their appearance. It doesn't really state too much about their longevity and how they were when they were alive, but you just have this floating dead body, which issue number 1 you have here, it's a beautiful woman. So it's a female um, celestial body that's died, and these people are it's really interesting. It's a really interesting concept because the resources around the planet or for them have all been depleted, so they have to carve and grave rob, so to speak, these celestial bodies and cut from them for meat. It's amazing. Like, what would a god's meat taste like? Heavenly, I suppose, but it
Ambrosia.
just ambrosia, the food of the gods. Um, it is a very interesting concept, and it is very beautiful as well. The art, even when it's dark, it's still purple with a tinge of shine to the darkness. It's amazing. It's really great. I really appreciate the art. So, for the art alone, it's worth the read. The story, the concept is interesting enough to captivate you. So, I definitely say this is a read, a solid read.
Okay. I like this book. As soon as I read it, and I've actually already read it, I immediately knew it was a Matt book. All right. Like if he didn't pick it, I was going to pick it because I knew he would love it, and then I knew I would get. He was like, "Yeah, buy this book," but he picked it himself, so I had to scratch it off my list. Uh, uh, this is it looks. It's a very good looking book. I feel like it's a solid concept. And remember, I don't know what makes them a god. Calling them a god, I think, is sort of. But basically, it's a giant human body.
Yeah.
Right? Giant, like planetary size human body, almost planetary size. So I guess they call them gods. I don't know if they're worshiping them, but maybe that's just the name that stuck. Uh, so basically, the new body shows up, and then it's a fight, sort of Star Wars style, to fight to see who could, like miners. Like I'm gonna stake my claim,
Yeah.
and then some people sneak around the butt end and see if they can steal stuff, and all of that sort of
Heresy.
space Wild West type of thing is part of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Stake your claim, and then you got to fight to maintain it, right?
Yeah.
But this is done in a science fiction, futuristic. Looks like a crew of 4. Each has their own individual specialties, which again leads to the whole conversation of Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or whatever, because they're in their own individual ships, sort of doing what they're part of what needs to happen. This looks good. It reads well. I like the things they did with the panels. I like the colors. There's absolutely nothing negative I can say about this book. If you have any inclination to sci-fi at all, I'd say this is a buy.
Right on. Yeah, this the mining concept I think is kind of interesting. Then the main character is sort of a Captain Ahab esque character too. You know, but yeah, I'm glad that both of you guys enjoyed it. And I'm glad that I picked it. So, moving on then, unless there are any final thoughts. All right. My second book of the week is Sea of Stars. This is by Jason Aaron. This is number 6, and this is a returning book. So they did a set of 5 issues. It became a trade, and then it's been 6 or 8 months, and since they did those issues, now they're restarting it again. And this is the beginning of sort of like a second story arc. Lot going on here, and it's just kind of wild and crazy. And I felt it was a interesting juxtaposition to my last book, whereas the last book was sort of hard sci-fi. Like there's very clear reasons for why these ships exist, why how their economy works, stuff like that. This book, on the other hand, is just crazy, almost science fantasy. So, what did you guys think?
I liked it. In the beginning, I got kind of a Ben 10 sort of vibe, mainly because of the monkey character. But moving forward with the book, it piqued my interest, especially with the kid. I think his name is Caden. His godlike powers. I'm intrigued with a character that like he's seemingly lost because if I'm not mistaken, he's estranged from his father for a certain amount of time, thinking that his father's dead, and then his father is just on the quest to find him. So Caden goes off with this godlike power, seeking retribution, not necessarily vengeance, but like he sees the entity, the creature that supposedly killed his father, and he tries to go forward with instilling pain in him. I don't know if he wants to just murder him or kill him, but it's interesting. I like that motivation, and when the two meet, what's going to happen? I'm interested. The art itself didn't really capture my attention, so I still say this is a solid read, just because I'm looking forward to issue number 7.
All right.
Okay. This is not a jumping on book. This is not the book you read. If you haven't read anything before, do not get this book. Okay? There are a lot of things happening here that are interesting. The kid with the star powers fighting for his dad, that's interesting. The monkey riding the whale, that's interesting. The Master Roshi guy in here who knows what his motivations are, that's interesting. Put them all together, big old mess. Big old mess. It looks good. I like the colors especially. It's not, what I would say the best looking art, but I find the art interesting, and I can work with it, and it actually is appealing. But there's no place. It's like there's a whirlwind happening, and all these interesting things are, but you don't have any place to stand to know where you're supposed to go and who you're supposed to follow and what begat who, or any of that. So all the elements, there are a lot of elements there, and I like all those elements. Right? I do, including the art. However, I'm like, what am I supposed to, who do I root for? Who do I like? Who do I hate? Who do I follow? What's the motivation for any individual in this entire book except for the dude who is trying to find his son, who the son apparently doesn't even know because he flies right by him and be like, my dad. I'm like, maybe this guy isn't even his father. So I'm like, So I give it a tentative read because it wasn't unenjoyable. It was just unfollowable.
Okay.
Unfollowable.
Yeah, I want to say I think in the first issue is where the kid I don't want to say dies, but transforms into who he is now.
Transform.
And I feel like there, if I remember correctly, there is like a death element to it. That's why he doesn't recognize his father.
Dude. There's all these rules of this universe. I don't know even one. Because what monkey can ride a space whale who has no water anyway? So I don't even know. You know what I mean? I don't know. What's this Master Roshi guy? What's his motivation?
Yeah.
And all of that, right? Is he evil? Is he good? Who is evil? Who is good? I don't know.
So
right?
All the reasons that you're pointing out is exactly why I picked this book. Because I picked it up not knowing anything about it. Was like, it's in space. I'm in the mood for a space story. Let's see what happens. And
it's colorful, appealing insanity.
That's a good way to put it.
Right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. It's not. I would have to buy the collected version of this because then maybe I could make some sense of it.
Okay.
But I definitely wouldn't say spend money on something you're never going to understand. And I can only barely say read something because it has a lot of interesting pieces.
Yeah. All right.
That's where I land on that.
Well, those are my 2 books. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Russ, your first book of the week.
My first book is Reaver. It's an image book. I picked it because I thought it might appeal to Matt in some way. It's sword and sorcery, but it's mostly sword, but more some sorcery. But also, it's sort of a Magnificent Seven sort of thing. Like you go through this book and you find this weird character, and they're going to be part of the team. And you go to the book and you find this weird interesting character, but they're all going to be part of a team, and you know that, and you get the motivations for all of. What I like is this book gives you the motivation before you get to the end. I feel like it gives you the motivation for every weird character, enough for you to say, okay, there's enough here. Like, it gives you all the seeds for you to really be able to decide if you're going to like this.
Yeah.
And I think, but that's what I think. What do you guys think?
Maddie, you want to go first?
Sure. I would liken it to, I see the Magnificent Seven parallel, but I also would think Suicide Squad because of that phrase, or when he speaks to the first person, he's saying, you're surely going to die. So they kind of set it up for a redemption for him. And then a lot of the other characters that are signing on, they're already despicable anyway. Like, they are not necessarily heroes. They're just either going in for valor, for glory, or just
Freedom.
Because it's better than a cell.
Yeah.
So I like the initial character, but I like the girl the most because she's very feral, and she's kind of like a Wolverine type. So I really like her. She's somewhat of a wild card. Overall, I'm intrigued because I want to see how they get along, how the dynamics work with each individual, because they all have distinct personalities. There's this one guy who's sort of like a Gambit type, playboy type, but he could care less, but he still wants to do it because if somebody's going to call him in a time of need, he's there. Like, he's game. So I'm really interested in issue number 2. I call this a buy simply because I want to see what happens next. The art itself didn't really jump out to me, but it was intriguing, especially with the magics. Like, there's a panel where you have, looks like a fire, but it's purple. So that in and of itself just drew me in. Like, okay, this is a world of magic, or at the very least mages. So I'm interested. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So Russ, you were correct. This is a book for me. I didn't draw the Suicide Squad parallel, but I definitely see it now that you mentioned that. So my thought as I was reading through this was Brandon Sanderson. So one of the things that he did with his Mistborn book was he was like, I'm going to do a heist and I'm going to set it in medieval fantasy. This feels like this is a heist. This is Ocean's 11. We've got this group of misfits. We're going to put them all together, and they all have their unique talents. And each of those talents are going to play into, the overall plot. So yeah, I totally dig it. This is definitely an adult book. So even the books that we read or that we see that have like very explicit violence or sex or anything like that, they oftentimes will still censor out the swearing. This is the first book I've read, I think, that just, we're just going to type it out. We're going to put, this in the text. There's no reason to censor it because this is a book for adults. And then, the one scene where we meet the girl that's on the cover, she says, I got to point out the scene because it's pretty good. I think that it frames her character very well. She says, one of your good and noble officers tried to put his dick in my mouth. I let him. And she smiles, but she's got these sharp teeth, right? I was like, okay, that's framing this character for the rest of the story.
I like it. I felt like, okay, so you got the Loki Gambit character, you got the X-23 Wild Child character, you got the Kratos character, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the original guy, the Coward, who has a good heart, right? So when you think and you put all these people together, right, and they already told them in the beginning they're all going to die anyway. I'm thinking this is a fun journey, and now, even though I didn't see it before, so I give you all the credit, Emmanuel, I didn't see the Suicide Squad part of it, even though the elements were clearly there. So thanks for bringing that up. But I think each of these characters is interesting. right? And then there's the
Yeah.
girl who looks like the Watcher, who's the kung fu big woman who looks like the Watcher who can't talk. I'm like, these are all like if we were to design a ragtag group of individuals, this is some great design character-wise, right? Because each of them, you know, you could pick any two. There's guarantee at least two of these guys you're going to be interested in,
Yeah.
right? And that is great. And you know, but while you're going through that, you may find interest in another one because of some weirdness they do. So there's always going to be something here. I felt like this was a buy. The art is good to me, right? It's not the art is it fits what's there. You know what I mean? It's not distracting, but it still has all the detail you need, right? You see all the wrinkles and, you know, the bloodlines and everything there. So there's a lot of detail here. This wasn't something that was done in someone's sleep. I think it's good story, good panel usage, good use of you feel the emotion of the characters, right? When they smile, when their motivation is there. The Kratos dude has a big dent in his head, but he definitely looks like Kratos, right? Boy. And I just thought this was a book that I would keep reading, and I will read other issues of this. So we all like it. It's a buy. Do you have any final words?
I would say the big dude's kind of like the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Yep, I agree. Because we're not going godly with Kratos, but he looks more like Kratos, I think.
Yeah, he does have that aesthetic.
Yeah.
All right. Rush, your
All right.
second issue?
Yep, my second issue is Backtrack. This is a Oni Press book. I like the concept. And before I go any further, what do you guys think?
I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually did not like this that much.
Wow.
The art nor the story. I had a hard time getting into it. At the end, I was hoping there was a big reveal, like a switch up, something that would captivate me, but it didn't. So I personally, no slight to you, but I would not buy this book. It didn't really appeal to me, didn't jump out at me. The art itself, I didn't really find distracting, but it wasn't all that great in my opinion. It's a style that I like. Don't get me wrong. I like the style of it, but the implementation, the way that this is done, I'm not for it.
Nothing of the story appeal to you?
No, honestly, like I'm not the racing, the motivations for the characters. I'm not. I wasn't invested. I wasn't emotionally invested in this.
Got it.
That's fair. So I feel like this is sort of a heist book as well, which is sort of where I draw the parallels and your overall theme of the week. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like Emmanuel. I wasn't as emotionally invested in this as I was the last one. But I don't know. It has the same element where like you have the person that holds the power is forcing, you know, this other person to go through this trial. I do like that it's framed around racing, which is kind of cool. I do like that it jumps back in time, or at least a Land of the Lost style world is what they get thrown into. Yeah, I don't really know.
Okay.
Beyond that,
Right,
I actually like the art a lot more than Emmanuel did, though. I think they did a great job with that.
So what appealed to me was this was a deal with the devil kind of comic,
Yeah,
right? The devil finds down and out people. This is not a new story in that respect, right? Down and out people with talent that says, I will make your dreams come true if you only do this task for me, right? So that part of it appealed to me, right? Because this person, the main character, obviously was very down and out from the beginning of the book,
yeah,
but had talent, but was broken and not fixable by their own means, right? So, you know, like the warrior's journey, you already know where this person is headed, and here comes the devil to deflect and put you on a different path, which may or may not be better, but certainly more exciting,
right.
right? And so the devil found a whole bunch of people like that, not just our main character, and then says, you win this race, and you've always been a great wheelman. You win this race, and I give you something you really, really want. That will make it all worth it, right? And there's some magic to it because he's able to show something that shouldn't exist, right? So then when you get to the actual race, and then you get all these weird people who have their own motivations. Honestly, I'm thinking maybe the second issue was a little better of explaining that. So I would say if you have any interest at all, it doesn't appear that you do, so I'm not. The explanation is there better, and the explanation of the devil guy, who he really is explained in issue 2.
Okay.
Right? And more of the rules of the race and all of that is explained, and more of the other characters and their motivations. So if that interests you, it would be a number 2. But I've always liked a good, when I think of books and shows I like, you find somebody who's troubled and broken, right? And they have to do something desperate, right? And then now let's do something that plays to your strengths and something. How many movies and books have I loved where there was a character who was down and out but had great potential, and they have to do something desperate in order to get back in the game? I feel like that's a good portion of the good movies we like, and so I thought those elements were there too. I will say I'm not particularly a fan of the art. There were times where it was a little distracting, not in a good way, but most cases it was fine. I'm sorry you didn't like it more, but I thought it had the elements there. I just didn't know how they would land with you.
So the guy at the end who says that he knows how this is all going to shape out and what we need to do because he's done it before.
Yeah.
That makes it a little less, like, it makes it more hopeless for the main character because,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like, she's...
But you don't know what he did, what he wanted.
No.
And whether or not he actually got it and wanted something else.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is a deal with the devil. So whatever it is you get, if you win, it ain't really what you want.
Right.
It's what you think you want. All right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense that is the case. For those who don't know, and I'm going to spoil some of the book, basically this down and out woman who is a drunker and going through some stuff about her family and friends or whatever, and just spiraling out of control, but she's a good wheelman. And then I call him the devil. We give him some kind of name that sounds like he's the devil. Shows up and says, wouldn't you like to change all that? Aren't you the person that did this, the Kessel Run in so-and-so parsecs, right? Aren't you, right? You know it's there. And he says, and she was like, yeah, fuck you. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he was like, listen to this recording. And she's like, how could that be? This is just proof of what I'm saying. If you want, show up to the run. If you qualify, you're in, right? Yeah. And I'm like, and so she shows up to the run, and she qualifies, and then they go on their race, and all of a sudden they're in the Cretaceous period, in their cars.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone doesn't make it. Cue your Suicide Squad thing, right?
Yeah.
And then there were one less character. And then they get to the first part where they get the rest, and some secrets get revealed, including one guy who's been through this before. That conversation continues into the second book, where you find out more of who the devil is. So anyway, that's what this book is about. It's called Backtrack. Obviously, there's some time issues. I still think it's worth a read, and I'm sorry I couldn't find it anywhere online legally to read because I would certainly have provided it for you.
Yeah.
But if there are no more comments, we'll move on.
Just on the appearance of the guy in the last panel that says he's done it all before, he is the stereotypical Frenchman.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, the French racer from
human embodiment of Pepe Le Pew. Just the turn up.
Just the whole, and I know better than you, and I'm cooler than you, and all of that, and shut up, and you're not even worthy of my time. He is that guy.
Mhm.
It's funny. So they jump back in time, or seemingly they jump back in time, and it's a land of dinosaurs. And I was thinking to myself, like, they're driving these fucking muscle cars. They're gonna run out of gas, but the gas hasn't been created because the dinosaurs haven't been dead in the ground long enough.
And I'm going to say that is explained in issue 2.
Okay.
That very concern is handled. Like everything you want to know or this didn't quite make sense, it flows into issue 2 because that scene at the end continues directly into issue 2.
Okay.
If you're interested.
All right. I guess we'll move on to Manuel's first issue.
Yep.
All right. My first issue is The Resistance. This is not issue number 1. This is issue number 5. So maybe a good jumping off point, maybe not. It follows a group of, I wouldn't say heroes, but people with powers. They're called Reborns. They're a small group of fighters that take on a military invasion in in Eastern Europe. So this has a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but it has some realism to it. It's not like the powers of DC Comics or um, Marvel Comics where they're just you suspend belief. It's kind of maybe with the art itself, it kind of lends to a bit more realism and the issues they face because this is a foreign entity invading Eastern Europe, so it's kind of steeped in realism. What did you guys think?
All right, the artwork. I think we've seen this artist before, and I think it was either a book that Emmanuel or Russ brought on, but the way that he does the panels where they're not like the panels are chopped up and they don't really have any borders, but they've got the white spaces in between. Um, I like that. I think it's really cool, and it's a unique aesthetic that plays with the comic trope in a really cool way. I think this book is somewhat more poignant, given the current political climate of the United States, than maybe it should be.
Mm.
But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I was sad at the same time, just because I don't want to see tanks on the streets. But yeah, it's definitely got some things to pull at your heartstrings, and sort of does a lot with politics and how do you deal with these people that have powers, and what does the resistance look like, and what does oppression look like, and yeah, it was a good book, good pick. Issue 5 of 6. I don't know how this is going to shape out, but I'll probably go back to issue 1.
Okay. I read issue number 1 some time ago. It was on my list. I didn't find it as compelling as I would like, so I didn't bring it. I just kept it in reserve for like the right time. AWA Studios, which shorts for artists, writers, and artisans. We are creative business owned and operated by creators. We offer the best deal for creators and the best purchasing terms for comic retailers. So that interests me, right? J. Michael Straczynski, which is the writer for this comic. That interests me, right? And it basically, the first issue, which is not available for free anywhere. Reginald Hudlin is also a member of the council. J. Michael Straczynski, Reginald Hudlin, Garth Ennis, Frank Cho. These are all people on the board of this comics company. So this comics company interests me, right? The writer interests me. This is good sci-fi. I'm going to say that. J. Michael Straczynski can write a good sci-fi tale. So I like the sci-fi of this. And in the first book, it does explain where these powers and abilities come from. All right? Now, let's go into the look of it. I'm okay. I kind of like the art. I really don't like the coloring.
It's sort of subdued, yeah.
Yeah, it's subdued where I don't feel like it needs to be. It doesn't add to it. It doesn't make it better, right? There's a lot of darkness in the faces where you don't, it's like someone just made the whole palette darker, right? So now the shadows have no art in them. You know what I mean? And there's more shadows than need be. So I had a problem with that, right? the problem with coming on in this issue is that you don't really know what started all this. All right. Uh, I I found it to be more of a read than a buy because you don't really know enough. Because I don't think it's a good jumping on point. But it does start with a relatively interesting story, but you don't know anybody. You don't know their motivations. You don't know who's been doing what. When they say this general did this, you don't know who the hell that general is, right? You don't know any of those things or why they did what they did. It doesn't really say what started this whole conflict, which is a worldwide conflict. You don't really know who. I mean, you kind of get an idea that government is bad and everybody else is good, right? Which is sort of, generically how we feel about the world. There are a lot of characters with abilities who you only see them visually and nothing else. You don't really see anything what they can do, what they're capable of, and they're not all drawn with clarity, distinctness. So I had the art took away from the story somewhat for me. Wasn't terrible. It just didn't give me enough of what I needed. But then, there's a lot of people on screen, right? And so I felt like, but the color and the art together worked against it for me. I liked the book. I did read the first issue. I do like where it's going. I don't know if I feel like I need to own it. And I don't know if I would have made it from the first issue to this one. But if this was a sci-fi novel, I'd definitely read it.
Yeah.
That's sort of my take on it. So I'm thinking I'd give it a tentative read.
So issue 6 will be available the end of this month. I imagine the trade paperback will probably come out a couple of months after that, maybe the beginning of next year. I would probably pick up the trade and read through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a read, not a buy, just because it's 5 of 6 in the middle of in the middle of the story. So, all right, move on to Manuel's last issue.
The last issue I have is DC Comics The Flash, Volume 1, issue number 761, 2021. Let me kind of set the scene a bit. This speaks to it gives a little bit of information about the motivations and the happenings for the past Flashes. I picked this, and we'll talk about it a little bit more after you guys give me your takes on it. I picked this for a specific event that happened to a specific Flash, and he's near and dear to Wallace's heart. So I want to have this conversation after you guys give me your opinions.
Well, I'll go first because I know Russ is going to have more to say about it.
Yes, I am.
So I can't remember what issue it is, the first appearance of Reverse Flash, but that's like a classic way back in the early 90s when my parents owned a comic shop. That was one of the books that my dad got in the store, and that was in decent condition. That was like, oh, we've got one that's worth putting in the glass type of thing. So that image always stuck out to me, and I always feel like Reverse Flash is sort of the ultimate villain for Flash, at least Barry Allen. I think this is a feel-good book for Flash fans. At least that's the impression that I get, just because it does have, the penultimate or quintessential villain. It has the entire Flash family. The artwork is really good. It's got a lot of movement to it. I don't really have a whole lot to say beyond that. I mean, it's just kind of a feel-good Flash book. I liked the artwork. I liked, this battle between the two. I'll let Russ go because I know that he's got some things that he needs to say.
This is like Crisis of Infinite Flashes.
Amazing.
Um, and if you are a Flash fan, there's every Flash there probably ever was. Some I can't even name. And I know every Flash, right? They've got the Flash, where just Stan Lee did, like, if he made a Flash, or if he made Justice League, or Stan Lee does Justice League, they have a whole universe, or Stan Lee's designed his own Flash and his own Superman. That Flash is there.
Yeah.
Right? Every Flash you could ever name and every descendant in the past and in the future is in this book. So if you are a Flash fan, candy overload. Okay? I don't like the art. I like the background art, but the faces to me are really hideous. I feel like that's actually the biggest thing with me, is the faces don't really look appealing or quite human to me. And that irks me. All right. I feel like it's just not the quality that should match. When you got a book where you got 1,000 Flashes, I want somebody who can draw their ass off, and they didn't give me that. Right. It's all there. Right. All the flavors are there, but not the packaging. So that irked me. Right. I do like. Look, I'm not a fan of Barry. I'm a fan of, Wally West. That's my Flash, right? I feel like Barry is boring, and Barry has Peter Parker problems, right? I feel like Barry has Peter Parker problems. Oh, it just never works out the way I want. And I got good, and I got skill, and I'm smart, but it's always just going to be jacked up. Right? Good thing I have my Mary Jane, my redheaded Iris West, right? So I feel like this Flash is but he's still got to fight. Like, wouldn't it be great, by the way, if Spider-Man had an anti-Peter Parker he had to fight that was everything he was? Like, what would he, wouldn't that fight be amazing to see? Right? Like everything. Not like Peter Parker has an upper hand because his heart is good. Because I remember a conversation we had a ways back where you thought, or you, Emmanuel, thought, because you're evil, you have the upper hand. Right? You are stronger. Right? I don't know if you still believe that. But in this case, Reverse Flash should win. Right? One thing Flash has, Reverse Flash doesn't have, is Flash has family. That's the only thing, right? That and apparently that's what he needed, because he couldn't kick Reverse Flash ass otherwise, right? And even when he got family, and so you brought characters that I love from the lore: Jay Garrick Flash, Max Mercury, one of my favorite Flashes of all time, right? I love those Jesse Quick. You know what I mean? I wish Johnny Quick would have showed up too. That'd be even better, right? But I like all of those characters because I am a Flash fan, right? And all the Kid Flashes and all of that. So like I said, candy overload. So that sweetness was so much. But I feel like, and I like that, it's good. It's jarring that Flash has to beat the Reverse Flash. In theory, one-on-one, it's hopeless. Is he stronger than the Reverse Flash? No. Is he faster than the Reverse Flash? No. And now, in the end, he's going to have to fight him mano-a-mano. And they keep doing it. They treat it like a crisis, right? This is the time when everything changed. This is that moment in the Flash history where something was never the same. So they're telling you next issue is the issue, right? But before you get there, here's the sweet Flash overload before you get there. And then next issue, we're going to give it to you. The art made it not a buy for me, actually, more than anything else. And because I am biased, so I can't really speak for anyone else. I just don't give a damn about Barry Allen. And he's a Flash, and he's in theory, the original, well, not the original, but the original Golden Age, or not Golden Age. What's the Bronze Age Flash? What age is he?
Silver, I believe.
Silver? Okay. So he's original Silver Age Flash. I like the powers. I like the universe, the world. Um, you know how when when Batman was invented, they need to have more Batman, so they created Robin. Then now you have 27 Batman, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Superman, right? Imagine how many Flashes are in this book that started with one Flash, right? There are probably 40 Flashes in this book. Right? That started from the story of the one Flash, right? That I like, actually. I like that they introduced a brand new Flash in the future. The brand new Kid Flash with the green skin.
Yeah.
That story, I want to know about that, right? So I'm a fan. I give it a 10. I give it a read. If you're a fan, then you really got to read this whole graphic novel. This one issue isn't going to do it for you. Go ahead. You had something to say.
I want to speak to the event which happened to your favorite Flash, Wally West.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think this book, what the Reverse Flash has done, because he backtracked, he said he's influenced all these events in all the Flash's lives. So do you think that this book, what he did, influences Wally West's decision to murder his friends?
No.
So you don't think this has any bearing on that?
No, I think I think decisions are your own. Mm-hmm. What he did influenced the fact that Wally West became the Flash. Right? And what kind of Flash he wanted to be. But my grandparents don't take responsibility for my decisions. I do. So no, now if you want to say how he was empowered, yes. How he was inspired, yes. Right? That makes sense, right? But no one makes a choice to a generation early and makes the decision for someone that they make later in their life as an adult. I don't think I can say how some people are influenced that way, but that's taking ownership away from Wally West, I think. So that's like saying he can't make his own decisions. Barry has to make them. And I feel like Wally West is the one Flash. See, I feel like they're trying to kill all the Titans, right? You know, they try to kill Nightwing, like really, they try to take him out of the book because they got to take these guys out of continuity. So all the original Titans, they got rid of Wonder Girl. They tried to get rid of Wally West. Everybody in that first generation of T-Titans, like where's Aqualad? Have you even seen him? The original one? No. You see Blackwalad now, but you don't see him, right? So I think that I'm mad at DC for doing that to all those characters. They didn't just do it to Wally West. What made Wally West unique is that he graduated, right? Dick Grayson became Batman, but you knew it was temporary. Wally West became became Flash, and he became a greater Flash than his predecessor. And he joined the Justice League, and he had family and kids, and all of those things. And then they took it all away. Even though his kids show up in this book. But if you're a Flash fan, you kind of have to get this book because it's going to make a turning point for, some new thing to the mythos, right? And you kind of have to get this book and the next one, and then in theory, the whole run. So whether you like the art or not, this is going to be a graphic novel that people are going to talk about because of its impact on the mythos. And that's what you want from whoever's going to write your books anyway.
Yeah.
So I can see how if you're a Flash fan, you're going to have to at least read this book. But there's some things that don't quite work for me, mainly the art, number one. And other than that, when I think about, because Barry's fought Reverse Flash before, what's new here?
Other
Reverse
than,
Flash
other than
killed
the
his mama.
1,000 flashes?
Yeah, well, this isn't the first time either, right? That this has happened. Flash is always a family, right? There's always can be, every Flash is only seconds away. You know what I mean? I can go get help and come back with 10 Flashes. They're all over the earth, and I say, need you right now. Okay, and they're all here, right? And all of a sudden, Flashes, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like they're always there. I don't think that is necessarily new. I think it's new in that you're pulling every Flash. And that's nice, but they're not getting all that much panel time. They're all on one panel, right? On 5 panels. And you get all of them, right? And then the Kid Flashes band together for a hot minute, I think, all right? And that's nice. But what's new, I guess, is possibly what's going to happen in the next book. What changes the status quo? What moves it forward? I don't feel like... Remember, this Flash is sort of rebooted, right? Ever since New 52,
Yeah.
they brought Barry back. And Barry wasn't a great book when they brought him back. So now they're trying to return him to glory. And because what is it that Barry Allen has done that Wally West hasn't already done as the Flash? What makes Barry Allen great? Right?
What is it?
Go ahead.
He's a scientist, right?
Yeah, but so was Jay Garrick.
Okay.
What makes Barry Allen great? And they've written that's nice. And there's a lot, so is Peter Parker, but then we're going to go back there, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not like a super scientist. He's a police scientist, right? He's a CSI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
forensic.
Yeah, right?
I would have liked for him to do more forensics, but they don't really highlight that in the books nor in the show.
They do in some books, but maybe that's not what moves the story forward. Maybe that's not exciting enough, right? Because just because you have forensics, I can do all that in a flash, and then I don't really need to, So my question is, what makes Barry Allen interesting? And I'm not feeling like, granted, there's a lot at stake here. But if Barry dies, do I really care? Yes, they'll mourn him, but do I really care? You think about it. If Wally dies, I'm fucking incensed, right? If any of the Kid Flashes die, I'm upset, right? If any of, when Max dies, I'm gonna feel something, right? When Jesse Quick passed away, I was like, that's the best female Flash ever. And she's a legacy Flash because it was Johnny Quick's daughter, right? So I have some emotions, but what am I losing if I lose Barry? Because we lost him once before, and we were good.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, but again, if you're a Flash fan, this is all the chocolatey goodness of a Flash chocolate bar that you want with M&Ms, right? It's all there.
And the Max Mercury connection to the Speed Force, connection to all of that. Like, I'm really interested in that conversation.
So
they
I'm going
highlighted a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest you go back to the Impulse books. And the reason I say that is because Impulse was when this was some time ago, but he lived with Max Mercury, who is supposed to be the Zen master of Flash.
Favorite Flash. That is my favorite Flash. I'm well aware of Max Mercury.
No, but when he was still Impulse, when he was still a kid, I think I love Max Mercury, and when he died, I'm upset. Right? There's a loss to all Flashes if Max Mercury dies.
Oh, yeah.
If Barry dies, we've been there, done that. All right? Yes, there'll be a party and Iris will cry and all that stuff happened, right? But then what?
He started the Speed Force in a sense. So
in a sense,
time doesn't really exist within the Speed Force. So he initiated it.
But what have you done for me lately? See, they're just saying, well, because of me, the other Flash. Okay, yes, you've had your run. Now die, right? You've had a good run, and thank you for your service, right? But I don't have to keep, giving you money, right? Yes, he did. It's like saying, Superman started all these other heroes, right? Superman can die. We got Superboy. We got 2 Superboys now. I'm not, what I'm saying? Yes, he did that. That's like saying, your great-grandparents, you have to do whatever they say forever because they're great-grandparents. They can cuss at you, disrespect you, do whatever, tell you to clean up their poop, and you just got to do it. That's not interesting. And granted that's family, but I'm not part of Flash family. I ain't got no super speed. Right? So what's in that for me? Yes, he did something great, not intentionally. He did something great years ago. He didn't intentionally I'm going to be the Flash tomorrow. Let me get my shit together, right? No. So it's not like an accomplishment. It was dumb luck. Right? How many heroes became heroes on purpose?
Well, one could argue because there is a storyline where he himself became the Flash Force, and that lightning that struck him was him in the Flash Force, like in that physical manifestation of lightning, him striking himself, granting him the Flash Force, which then propels
Yeah,
the
nice
speed.
little loop. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
nice loop. And when the loop is closed, it's time to move on.
Okay.
I'm not saying what you. I hear you. Right? He became the Flash. Does all these things. Found out he's the one who caused himself to be the Flash, and the loop is closed. Okay. When the loop is closed, you put it up on the wall, and you look at it from time to time, and you have a drink to it. But everybody else can go ahead and flash themselves.
Flash
That's
themselves.
yeah. I'm just saying.
I wanna point
Go
out
ahead.
one panel.
All right,
Where
I'm down with that.
where Barry's chasing Reverse Flash. He says, "Not so fast, Dwayne." I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, not so fast.
Not so fast. Isn't that the whole point? Isn't that?
That
Yeah.
is the entire.
And like I said, this is if you really like Flash, it's Flash candy. You need to get this shit.
Yeah.
You have to. Right? However,
Do we think spoilers? Do we think that Barry's actually gonna kill Dwayne Reverse Flash?
on purpose?
Well,
No, you can't be in DC Comics if you kill on purpose.
That's
So no.
That's the last word bubble. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, I hear you. This just shows how intent he is. That's all.
Okay.
But no, I'm sorry, you can't be in Justice League and murder on purpose. We only let Wally West get away with it because he was temporarily insane, and still they put him in jail.
Okay.
And he had to do this whole redemption story.
Yeah, right. So now Barry Allen is in his right mind. If you murder, you get kicked out of DC. How many DC characters murder and get away with it? Wonder Woman did it once. Wonder Woman took Maxwell Lord's head and crashed it, but by the way, since the reboot, Maxwell Lord is alive again. Never actually died. So where else? Who else murders? Sorry. You think I'm gonna make an exception for Peter Parker Flash? No.
All right. Any final thoughts before
No,
we move on?
I'm sure I've said enough.
All right, so that was the last book of the week. We do have a couple of roundtable items, some random comic book thoughts. I'm not sure who put these articles at the bottom, if that was Russ or...
Did you guys? Nope. Okay, no. Yeah, I put these out at the bottom.
All right, so we've got DC Universe transitions to premium comic app, DC Universe Infinite available worldwide 2021. This is going to have everything.
Okay, so here's how it's going to work. So for those who don't know, I do subscribe to DC Universe Online.
Right.
Right? So all of the shows that were on DC Universe Online are leaving. They're going to HBO Max.
HBO Max,
which
yeah.
is where they kind of should go. It really adds value to HBO Max. So I'm not really mad at that. But then you go, what makes DC this app standalone? Now recently DC just had this Fandom Part 1 and Part 2, right? Which shows there's a lot of people that really are fans and are interested in being active fans. All right? So what they're going to do may be similar to what Marvel does, is they're going to have a comic-only app. You can buy comics, you can buy, statues, etc., right? They're going to change it, and I've done some reading. You don't get the comics right away. You get the comics 6 months later.
Okay.
But
So-
6 months later, every comic that you can buy, and the digital-only versions will be there. All right? Stuff that's digital-only, you will be able to read those.
Yeah.
But print comics are going to show up in the app 6 months later. And you still be able to watch it on your Roku box and go panel by panel.
Okay.
Right? So the cost will be monthly $8 a month. What is Marvel charging for their app?
I think they're $10 a month, unless you
Okay.
get a special deal. They usually do a thing where you can get like a year for $60 or whatever.
Okay, so they have an annual deal of $75, which
Okay.
is $625 a month.
Yeah.
So if you want to read, now this doesn't look like it's going to include video anymore. It's just going to be comics and fan events and fan interviews and things like that.
It's interesting. Yeah, it seems like this is going to be exactly what Marvel does right
Yes. But Marvel still has that thing where if you buy the print book, you can read it digitally.
now. Yeah, well, that still works. You can still redeem all your books, but they're getting rid of their digital storefront, and now it only links to your Comixology account.
Now that is interesting.
But they're still keeping Unlimited, which is the subscription, the Netflix for their comics, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, I don't know if you can buy books in here. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can own books. I think this may be more of a Netflix thing.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
But if you are a fan of DC and you're reading a reasonable, this is a reasonable price, right? And for me, because I'm an annual subscriber, I'll get a $25 voucher the first year
So
if I
for
choose to continue.
So for $60 for the year.
Yeah. And there may be some things, like you said, Marvel does this where they discount it or whatever. So I'm considering it. I don't know how much, but I don't like being 6 months behind.
Yeah.
I'm irked by that. But Marvel, how far behind is Marvel if you don't
It's
buy?
It's generally
For the book.
around 6 months. It depends
Okay.
on the book. If it's something that not a lot of people bought or read or whatever, they just throw it up early. But
So that's an industry standard, is 6 months after
yeah,
the print comes
after
out.
print, yeah,
So if you're not like us who want to read something every week, if you're not the guy who goes to the comic book shop and you love DC, so that's a specific kind of fan.
I
Right.
mean, yeah, this is so one of the things that I do with Marvel Unlimited, which is something I might do with this DC Universe Infinite, is I'll buy a month, read a bunch of comics, and then cancel my subscription. Wait,
Okay.
wait 6 months or whatever, buy a month, read a bunch of comics, and then,
Yeah, like some people do with Netflix and other streaming services, so it makes sense.
right. And I think that's a great deal. That's a great value. $7.99 is 2 comics. So
Yeah.
for the price of 2 comic books, you get to read however many issues for the month.
Yeah. That makes sense. So I think all in all, it's a decent deal. And for those who don't find your comics by other means, who shall remain nameless, for a legal way to get Marvel in DC. But I feel like, wouldn't it be better just to get Comixology Unlimited?
No, because Comixology Unlimited, the problem with that service is it stops. So the stuff that's unlimited is usually only the first half of a series or catalog or whatever, and then
To make
that's
you buy it.
yeah,
later.
and then that's it. Then you only get the first 20 issues,
So it's
or
limited unlimitedness.
it is limited
It's
unlimited. Yes.
Yes, it's Comics Limited. Cross outline through the un. Okay. But anyway, that's what's happening because I know there's a big thing about now that HBO Max, because HBO Max has renewed Harley Quinn for another season. They've renewed Doom Patrol for another season. And I guess Titans is already going over there. Right? So that's kind of all their shows. And HBO, I feel like, is a good shepherd of those shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
HBO is known for quality shows. We may see a change, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of whether we like all the HBO shows, that's what they have over Netflix, is they're always a certain quality, a minimum quality. So I'm hoping that will have an effect. We'll see, though.
Yeah. So I'm just going to point this out. John Wesley Shipp, who's the guy that played Barry Allen on the Flash show in the 90s, apparently 3 hours ago tweeted out about his time playing Flash. I guess this is the 30-year anniversary or something
Mm-hmm.
of that show. So this is kind of interesting that he would tweet out at the same time we're talking about Flash. So we'll link that in the show notes as well.
I lament
Hmm.
they killed off that Flash in Crisis, which is sad, but it's good to have an ending.
Well, they'll bring him back. It's Crisis. Everybody got rebooted. They'll bring him back. Don't worry.
Think so?
Yep.
I think we'll still see John Wesley Shipp, but as Jay Garrick or as his
Jay
father,
Garrick?
Barry Allen's father.
Jay Garrick Flash is still Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll be Flash. He'll be Jay Garrick. I'm okay with that. Right? I mean, what other Flash is he going to be? He's got to be the tin can on the head Flash, right? He's got to be that, right? So him being
Right, but I meant
oh
that
yeah,
Flash,
the
that
Crisis,
Barry
yeah.
Allen Flash.
Yeah, well,
they killed him off.
all those shows that are dead forever anyway, right? Smallville, dead forever, right? So they can show that. They can show an ending, right? What was it? Birds of Prey, dead forever. They had a little blurb of that, right? That original Batman, even though now they're going to bring him back in some capacity, that in theory, dead
Robin.
forever. So it was just a way to show homage to that. The fact that they brought him back at all was just great fan service, right? The fact that they showed him fighting to keep his universe alive and looking for my issue is, are they going to bring the Black Green Lantern? That's my concern. Now, speaking of that universe, they're doing a new Lois and Clark, right? Clark and whatever. And Superman and Lois have 2 sons now because the universe was rebooted, right? There'll be John, and then there'll be like a Jason or younger or whatever version, right? And apparently the guy who played in Arrow, the black guy, what's his name? John. Anyway,
Diggle?
Diggle's moving to Metropolis, and he found a ring, so maybe we'll get a Green Lantern.
That would be awesome.
Right?
So it's not going to be John Stewart?
Well, let me explain that to you. In Arrow, which you obviously didn't watch, John Diggle has a stepfather who's a general whose last name is Stewart.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's cool. I
Right?
can get behind that.
They get the guy Ernie Hudson, the black guy in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
He's old now. They had him play, and he was sort of John's stepfather and mentor and helped him get into the military. So it's CW version.
Right. Yeah, it's Arrowverse or whatever.
Yeah. So it still works.
Yeah, and he could even take on the name Stewart if he chose, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
CW verse or the Arrowverse is always an amalgamation of what we already know and love. Just as the Batwoman, the character that played that, or the actor that played the character, she bowed out, and now we have a black woman playing the Batwoman. And I imagine it's going to be, they haven't really said who or which version of Batwoman yet, but I imagine it's going to be the one it's not what?
Well, from what I've been reading, it's an all-new version. It's not a version that has ever existed. She's going to take the place of Kate, but what happened to the original Batwoman will be addressed in the show. So basically, just like Harley Quinn, they're creating an all-new Batwoman on the heels of the old, acknowledging the one that's come before.
All right.
So I like that it's all new. I do hate that they make legacy characters black. Like, we're gonna make the new version black. Like, you know what I mean? Like for example, there's a thing in the paper. Ant-Man is going to have, was it Immortus? What's the immortal Kang the Conqueror?
Yeah.
So they're talking about Kang the Conqueror is going to be the black guy from what's that HBO show, right? But we also know in comics that Kang the Conqueror is a distant relative of Reed Richards, Mr.
Right.
Fantastic.
He doesn't really have a color, though. He's so far in the future.
Yeah, but he's always been white, still. So now the question is, and you're right, so far in the future it probably doesn't matter. But now there's also the rumor that the new Fantastic Four movie, Reed Richards will be black.
Okay.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Because I understand I don't like whitewashing, but I don't like blackwashing either.
If it's not, for my take on that, if it's not inherent to the character's character, then by all means, let's mix it up a bit. Let's not let the default always be black. There's other races out there. Let them be Asian. Let them be Native American. Let them be Indian. I'm all for that because that's an accurate representation of the planet. If
Hey,
it's
yeah,
not
but
inherent in their
here's the
character.
problem. Being black and American in this planet, you can't operate the same way. You can't.
True.
Right? There's the scrutiny is different, the expectation, the
Agreed.
respect you're
But
given is
representation
different.
does matter.
So yeah, but not surface only. If you're gonna make Reed Richards black, he has to deal with black issues. You know what I mean? Real black issues. And that may be problematic for fans of the, you know what I mean? Because that's not Reed Richards that we know. And here's the thing. I grew
Has
up with
that
a Reed
worked, though?
Richards. Huh? Does it
Has
what?
that worked in live action or in the movies? Has the Reed Richards that we know and love, has that worked? It hasn't. So let's mix it up. That's my
Yeah,
take.
that's why not is not a reason for me. I need something a little more than that.
It suffices for me though. I get it.
So anyway, that's my concern. And then I can also say that when they blacken characters, does that work also? And I got to say no. When they take characters that are not normally black and make them black, that doesn't work either. It's nice.
It does. Nick Fury worked.
Yeah, Nick Fury worked because it was Samuel L. Jackson. And only because it was Samuel L. Jackson, not a generic black dude. And also because Nick Fury has been removed from the comics for long enough. You know what I mean? Because you weren't seeing him in the
He
comics
was,
for decades.
yeah, kind of a minor character.
Yeah, he was
Perfect
great in
segue.
his day. Go ahead.
Perfect segue.
ahead.
Tatiana Mansley. I'm not sure what her ethnicity is, but you also posted in the show notes that she's going to play the
Yeah.
She-Hulk.
I think that's a great pick because just looking alone at that one where she played 10 different characters, versions of herself, I think she's a great actress. Right? I don't know about the look because that's generic.
What was that? Maybe I missed. I'm not familiar with her.
Orphan Black.
Okay, I
Orphan
got you.
Black. Okay.
And if you haven't seen Orphan Black, at the very least, the first I'm sure it's on Amazon or somewhere. You need to watch it because she plays in screen and has conversations and dialogue with versions of herself. She plays all the versions, and you really believe them as separate people. She won an Emmy, I think, or something for that.
Wow.
It's a really good. I'm not saying the whole series. The science doesn't necessarily work all the way through season 3, 4, 5. But the first season, I feel like you have to watch. Then
Okay.
you really get an idea for how talented she is as an actress.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
And, you know, whether or not she may be a different nationality or that, she looks white. What are you going to do? Right? On screen, she looks white.
Well, she'll be green in the movie.
Well, and only when she changes to She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Jennifer Walters.
Yeah.
feel
But
like
I think
they're
I
gonna
like her
do
stature. Go ahead.
they're gonna do the CG, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to do it the same way they do the Hulk.
Yeah.
Because they have enough money to put that money into Disney has enough money to basically make a 6-hour movie with, you know, $80 million if they need to
Yeah.
put that in the sense.
Luisa Ferrigno play the She-Hulk. That would be amazing.
Really? Louisa? No, I think they're going to do the same thing they do with the Hulk, is they're going to have the same character play both.
Yeah.
And I think that works because you sort of, you know, and then when ultimately they change it, like, okay, let me ask you this. Should there be a Black Panther 2?
Yes. I really want to see it.
Should someone else play T'Challa, or should T'Challa be dead?
Well, weren't they talking about his sister being the main
In the
character in the movie?
comics, the sister
Yeah,
does
but
take up the mantle temporarily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Takes up the mantle of Black
but
Panther.
when she takes up the mantle, it's because he's doing something else,
Right.
right?
Well, they
and
could write
that's
it that
part
way.
of the story.
Yeah.
They could. What? And then, like, after to whatever the next generation, then they bring another character back, and it just be somebody else. We're okay with that.
I don't know how you do it. I'm just saying that's an option.
It is an option. However, I feel like they haven't explored enough Black Pantherness as the male character to just give it to the female just now.
True. Yeah.
Right? Now, I wouldn't be mad if they made whatever homeboy who he killed at the end, if they made him. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if Killmonger has been the opportunity to have redemption as the Black Panther. He would kill it. I would watch that and I wouldn't be mad. Right? All you got to do is, because he died in Wakanda, you don't really die. They bring him back, and then they could put a Suicide Squad thing in his neck if need be. And so if he trips, messes up. But I think he'll make it, what I like is he's a good actor, right? And that's one thing that Marvel has been doing in their movies is they're picking good actors. Yes. Chadwick Boseman has played every famous black person except Prince, pretty much, and done well, right? and so he had the versatility to do it, right? So that's why I applaud that, because they didn't just pick somebody black. They picked someone black and very, very talented. I feel like they did well going back to the She-Hulk thing. I felt they picked someone young, very, very talented, very capable in that role. So I'm looking forward to it.
If it were up to you, you would have Michael B. Jordan play T'Challa or Killmonger as Killmonger as Black Panther.
Yes,
with that same edge, with that same political bent.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would do. That would be interesting. Honestly, though, I feel like Black Panther hasn't had enough screen time. The character. I feel like there needs to be a new T'Challa, but you want to give Chadwick Boseman his justice. So I don't really know. I'm not the best guy to say that, but I think, I want T'Challa to fight I want Secret Wars. I want T'Challa so T'Challa is a king, right? I want to see a movie where a fight of kings. I want to see T'Challa versus the Submariner and their entire realms fight. I want to see T'Challa versus Doctor Doom and their entire country's fight. These are things I need to see, right? Because the fight of powers and the kingdom makes it a unique story, right? It's not like Reed Richards has a kingdom. It's not like, Tony Stark has a kingdom or these other things. Thor maybe, right? But that's a whole nother conversation. So to say, what is it like to be a king and a superhero fighting against another, right? If you were to see Doctor Doom versus Black Panther, you would want to pay to see that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Right? Submariner fighting his underwater minions and everything, fighting against Black Panther and the entire Dora Milaje and all of those people. You want to see that. I think those stories have to happen. And I don't think the character of Killmonger has that intellect. Does that make sense? Very capable.
Shuri could help him out. The sister.
She could, but then it's like Black Panther needs help. You know what I mean? To make decisions. That's not the Black Panther we know. You know what I mean? He can help him out as an ally, but to make Black Panther is the person that fought the Fantastic Four the Avengers to a standstill, just in his own supersuit and his own studying and his own planning, right?
Yeah.
You put Black Panther versus Batman, right? Black Panther wins, right? Even without the special herb that gives him his strength, because, Black Panther in theory is a better planner. It is his agile mind. And the reason I bring that up, because I just wrote an article for a black superhero fan called Black and Super Smart. So if you go to blacksuperherofan.com, you can check that out. And it highlights characters in the comics that are African American, and their primary power, the ability they primarily use, is their intellect. Right? So I didn't intend to segue to that, but it's there, and I would appreciate if you guys took a look and gave me some comments on it. And I had some honorable mentions. There's a bunch of, there are more than I would have thought there would be, but I always do at least 5, and then there are some honorable mentions elsewhere, Shuri, I think, is an honorable mention because he hasn't had as much time, and she's smarter in the movie universe. I think maybe more so than her in the comic, but then that's arguable. So I put her as an honorable mention. But I didn't just go DC. I went Marvel and a few other people, and there's an X-Men in there, of course, because some people don't like X-Men. And then I picked somebody also that was not Marvel or DC as well. So anyway, blacksuperherofan.com, smart characters. But again, that's why I don't want Killmonger to beat Black Panther just yet. He's not smart enough, not tactile thinking yet.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm kind of sad that we won't get to see Ronda Rousey in green body paint as She-Hulk, but got to make concessions,
Sorry,
I guess.
I'm gonna say I prefer what's her name? She played in The Mandalorian.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. She did that
Yeah.
other movie that you
Starts with
liked.
C.
Yeah, I love her. That's the only muscular woman that I would submit to. Gina Carano, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, she was in.
Yeah.
Was it Haywire? Was the movie?
Yeah, see, Haywire, I loved. Right, that's a B movie that I put in the collection.
All right. Well, on that note, gentlemen, we'll wrap it up for this week. You can find us at twitch.tv/QuarternComics if you want to watch us live. You can listen to the podcast anywhere you find your podcasts, whatever podcatcher you choose to use, Spotify, Apple, Google. We are on all of those services. And you can view the show notes and watch an archive of the video on cornercomics.net. So until next week, I'm always an X-Men fan.
Still not an X-Men.
Oh man, I gave you something good last time, man. You got to at least,
It's moving. It's moving. It's just not there yet.
Okay.
And on that note, we're out.
Now, back to inappropriate superheroes 101.
Should that be the side show? The Patreon exclusive?
Yep, inappropriate, where we continue this conversation about inappropriate superheroes that don't quite fit the mold.